Well, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get everything started. My name is Jason Mainers. I serve as one of the Google Apps admins here at NC State University and serve on the Google service team. So thank you for joining us today as we talk about the new Drive. Earlier this week, the new Drive became the default for most people. So you should have seen the change happen. If you haven't, you should at least see a bar that's prompting you to join the new Drive. So what we're going to do today is just sort of cover some of the changes between the old Drive and the new Drive and answer any questions that you might have. Speaking of, if you're joining us via the Google Plus page, you should see a Q&A button that you can click on and add questions. I have someone here with me who will help moderate those and try to type answers as we get into those a little bit later on today. If anyone has any problems, feel free to throw it in the questions area as well so we can see that there. Well, let's go ahead and get started talking. Most of the time you're not going to see me, you'll see my shared screen as I sort of talk through some of the changes. So here we go. Sorry about that. So what you're seeing here in front of you is the new Google Drive. You'll notice it follows very similar conventions. You have a prominent left-hand navigation bar and a right-hand area where you can see your files. A couple of the reasons why they made the transition is that they wanted to strengthen the experience across devices. So if I were to toss my iPad to the screen, you would see that the experience, the look and feel is very similar between Android, iOS, and now the desktop devices. So icons are the same, terminology is the same. So if you haven't played around with using Drive on your mobile device, I highly encourage you to take the opportunity to do so. You'll find that the experience is greatly improved and really offers you a near feature parity experience using Google Drive, docs, sheets, slides, etc., just like you do on a desktop computer. The other big reason for the change was improved accessibility. They've made a lot of accessibility improvements for folks with visual impairments or motor impairment who are primarily keyboard-driven users. So they've greatly improved that. And the other thing was to actually bring Drive closer to the desktop computer OS experience. So we're used to, whether you're working on a Mac like I am here or on a Windows PC, there are certain conventions. You're used to dragging and dropping files. You're used to being able to click and highlight large blocks of files at a time and take some action on those. And so a lot of that functionality has now been brought over to the Drive web interface. So if I wanted to quickly highlight several of these files, I can click and drag a box over them just like I would in a desktop operating system. I can also use keyboard shortcuts. So I can click on one of these files and then shift-click on a file above it, and it can select all the files in a range. I can also use Command on a Mac or Control on a PC to selectively choose individual files and then take some action on those. So it's really began to merge the experience between what you're accustomed to already using your computer and using the Drive interface on the web. Now there are some other changes that I want to point out, some things that have just nomenclature's changed, etc. You'll notice up in the top left-hand corner of Drive, there's now just a single button called New. Before, you may have seen an option to both create a file or to upload a file. Now you only see the button New. If you click on the New button, it will actually prompt you to create a new folder, or they've moved the upload options into underneath this button. You can also create new docs, sheets, and slides, as well as other formats that you may have added to your Drive experience. One important thing to note is, and we'll talk about this a little bit in detail in a second, but file and folder uploads have changed just a little bit in that instead of prompting you for conversion, you now set that in a setting, but we'll cover that in a moment. Another important change is now you have My Drive, and you can click the drop-down button beside of My Drive to expand and show any folders that you've added to your drive. Also, you'll notice the Shared with Me has been replaced by a new folder and along with a new icon called Incoming. Incoming represents any files and folders that have been shared with you by another Google Drive user. Clicking on this, I can see that some other folks, as well as myself from another account, since this is a test account that I'm working with, have shared not only folders, as in the scene here with this WordPress theme designs, but also documents like the consent waiver form or the Google Pilot issues and notes that was shared with me several years ago. Recent shows documents that you've interacted with going backwards in time, so it's a good way if you know that you worked on a file yesterday but you can't quite remember the name of it. Recent is a good way to find that file very quickly. Starred shows you any documents that you have starred. I probably do not have any in this test account. And then trash shows you any files that you've moved to the trash that you haven't emptied. Note that once you've clicked the empty trash button, those files are permanently deleted from your Google Drive experience. So let's go back to the main sort of landing page view. You'll see here my view may look a little different than yours, and that I have mine in one of the two different views that you can have. This is what's called list view. List view shows very much in a tabular format the name, owner, and last modified, but I can also switch to a grid view. And this grid view will show you all your folders at the top, or based on how you have them sorted, and then thumbnail previews of the files that you have in your drive. This is nice because sometimes you want to see things a little differently. You can also click and select things as usual, as was demonstrated earlier. Note, I do have sort options. I can sort them by name, I can sort them by last modified, edited by me, last opened by me, etc. So take advantage of those sort options to find documents when you're looking for them. The other thing you can change is the actual density at which you view these thumbnails and files. If you go to the settings gear icon in the top right hand side of the page and choose settings, one of the new settings that you have is the setting density. Density allows you, just like you can in Gmail in the web interface, change how compact files are to one another. So the same three that you see in Gmail, comfortable, cozy, and compact, are available in Drive as well. If I change that and choose Done, you'll notice that the files, especially in the lists view, are much more close together. If I change that back to comfortable, you'll see them spread out. Notice you can also see them behind the window to sort of see which one may work best for you. Now, density will also automatically change based on the resolution of your computer. So if you're working on a very small monitor with not a lot of screen real estate, or if you make your browser window very small, Google Drive, just like Gmail, will adjust its density to try to get the maximum amount of information on the screen. I'm going to switch mine back to comfortable because that's the one that I prefer. While we're here in settings, let's go ahead and point out something that I mentioned earlier about a change in the way uploads work. Previously, if you would choose to upload a Word document or Excel file, for instance, Google Drive would prompt you and say, would you like to upload this file and keep it as its native file format, or keep it a Word document in Google Drive, or would you like to automatically convert that file into a Google file format? So convert a Word doc into a Google doc, or an Excel spreadsheet into a Google sheet. Now, under Settings, you have a permanent option to choose Convert Uploaded Files to Google Docs Editor Format. What this means is that every time you upload a supported file type, it will attempt and convert that file into a native Google Doc. Now, prior to this past fall, this may have been a concern for some folks because Google native formats, so Google Docs and Google Sheets, don't use up disk quota in Drive. However, now that we have Google Drive for Education, our storage capacity is unlimited, which means that you don't have to worry about the file size of a Word doc or spreadsheet eating up your Drive storage space, and then that may lead to you not having enough email storage space. So that's a nice feature change, but some folks, like myself, prefer working in the Google Drive native file format over Word or Excel. So I can check this to make sure that every time I upload something that it's automatically converted. Now, even though I can leave that unchecked and upload a Word or Excel file, I still have the option later to convert that file into a native Google Doc or Sheet, and I'll just have both copies. You can see in this case where I uploaded this Word doc managers meeting -12, and if I double click on it, it's going to open up a preview for me. Now, if I go to the top bar, I can actually choose to open with Google Docs, and when I do so, if one doesn't already exist, it's going to create a copy of that Word document and convert it to a native Google Doc file. As you see here, that Word doc and this native Google Doc are the same content, same formatting as possible, same fonts if available, so it does a good job. That's one of the other things that they've done with the new Drive is they've greatly increased the fidelity between uploading and converting native Office formatted documents. Now, let's talk a little bit about some other options and some other things that you can visualize. Once I select a file, you'll see that the row of icons up here changes. Whereas before I could only sort and change views, I've now had new icons added. These icons allow me to quickly and easily either get a link to the file based on its shared permissions, easily share it with someone else. So if I click that, it'll automatically prompt me with a share dialog. I can also preview the file. So again, this brings up the nice preview interface, and I can also easily trash the file from here. These three dots are also more actions that I can click on and choose some other things. I can choose to open this particular file with a specific application. You'll notice some additional suggested apps that I have accessed from time to time, and it may prompt you with some other things here. I can also choose to move to. This allows me to create my file organization structure to my liking, and so I can move this file into another folder. Here's also where I can add a star, which will make it show up in the starred list on the left-hand side. This is also a quick way to get to something where I can rename the file easily, and it'll prompt me with a dialog to easily rename the file. For non-native Google or files stored in your Google Drive, so Word file, PDFs, etc., the new Drive also gives you the ability to manage versions. This allows you to see if perhaps you've uploaded a duplicate version, or if you're using the Drive Sync client on your desktop computer, if you've opened that file locally and made changes, this will actually allow you to see version history up to 30 days in the past. I can also, if I don't want to have duplicate copies in my web interface, by going to Manage Versions, this allows me to upload a new version of this exact same file from a computer that I'm on. So let's say, for instance, you're not on your normal office computer. You're on your home computer, or perhaps using a kiosk computer somewhere. A file that you had on your computer was only available in Word. You download it and make some changes before you print it, let's say at a kiosk there. But you want to make sure that those changes that you have are stored back in your Google Drive. Well, if you just upload the file, it's actually going to upload a second copy of the file, and you would see basically 2 Word docs with the same name. By choosing more actions and saying manage versions, here by clicking upload new version, this will basically overwrite the old version, but again, you can keep the old version and roll back to it up to 30 days later just by clicking the more actions over here to the side. Also under more actions is the quick ability to make a copy as well as download the file. And let's talk about view details. One of the big changes in the new drive is the idea of activity and information. So I can either choose more actions and say view details, or I can choose this round circle button here with an eye in it to view details of a file. And what this is going to show me is it's actually going to let me switch between 2 views, a details view and an activity view. Let's take a look at details first. Details is going to show me just critical, quick information about a file regardless of its format. It's going to show me a preview of the file. It's going to show me any shared information, so sharing details. So if I've shared this document with someone, it will show me who they are here. It's also going to show me the type of document that it is. Google Drive supports the ability to upload lots of different file formats, not just Office documents. You can upload Photoshop files, Illustrator files, movies, images, audio clips, all sorts of different formats are supported in the Drive experience. And so this lets me see that file type. Again, because this is not a native Google Drive file, I'm going to see a size. I will also see a location, who the owner is, its last modified and created time. I can also add a description to this file to get some more information in. And this can actually be useful because as you're searching in your Drive, not only will it search the title of a file, the contents of a file, it will also search the description. So that can help you find a file much more quickly. This is also a good way for you to add some extra notes. Maybe you do have multiple copies of a file that are all named the same thing, but this is the most recent one. Maybe you can say, or this is the final confirmed copy. You can say, hey, this is the one that's confirmed, or this is the one with signatures, or something like that. Also now, for non-native file types, there's a new option in the new Drive down at the very bottom, and it says prevent viewers from downloading. Whenever you share a non-native Google file format, you have the ability to share that file in a lot of different ways. Let me open the sharing dialog to show you what I mean. If I open up the Share with Others and click the Advanced button, you'll notice that I have the option to say who has access. And right now, I'm the owner and I'm the only one who has access. But this top option also sort of shows these global permission set on that file. And it says private, only I can access. If I add someone here, so since Sarah's sitting here at the table with me, I'm going to add her. And I say send, say yes. Notice it says specific people can access. So it changed the permission set on the file. But I can also change that manually by clicking this change link out on the side, and I have several options for link sharing. One of those is, the default choice, which is off for specific people, meaning that I have to explicitly share the file with someone else for them to have access to it. There are also other options, as you see here, with descriptions that basically allow you to only share to folks within the university, so people at North Carolina State University with the link, meaning they have to use their @ncsu.edu account to gain access. Or you can make it farther reaching and public. So you can make the link available to anyone who has the link, so they don't have to sign in. They don't have to sign in with a Gmail account or a Google Apps account. They don't even have to have any sort of account. They can access it. And then you can also make a file completely public on the web. This is very helpful if you want to post the link to a web page. Making it public on the web is the way to go. So I'm going to briefly make this one to public on the web, and notice it's showing anyone, no sign-in required, can view, and I can actually change their permission levels, but I'm going to leave it just as can view, and I'm going to choose save. Now what that allows someone to do is, if I share this link with them, I should be able to open it here so we can see what they see. They would see the file, and now they would have an option to download a copy of this Word document. But if I come back over here into the Drive area, and I say prevent viewers from downloading this file is checked, now if I refresh this link, I believe it's still showing me a download option because I'm logged in with this window. So I'm going to get the link again. Notice that more actions context is also available if I right click on a file in the interface. So I'm going to get this link. I'm actually going to open up another incognito window. And it still thinks I'm logged in. So if I weren't logged in right now, it would basically hide that download button. So someone could preview the file right in their web browser, but they couldn't download a copy of it. Now they might be able to highlight and copy some text from it, but they couldn't download a full version of the file. Just a reminder to those of you who have joined us after we got started, if you're joining us via the Google Plus page, there is an option to click the Q&A button and ask questions, and we'll get to those in just a few moments. So feel free to go ahead and enter those in. We'll see those and can answer those momentarily. Now, we've talked about the details of a file, and I'll show you here. This is a native Google format, and the information there is the same. Notice the quota used says 0 bytes, and it says Google slide files do not take up quota space. Again, now that we have unlimited, it's not such a big deal. Under the activity option, instead of details, what this actually shows is the history on this file. This shows when the file was created, when someone has edited it or shared it with additional people. This is very useful if you're wondering maybe something's happened to a file and you're not sure what's happened with it, or you ask a team member to share this file with a new person on the team and you're wondering if they've done it yet. You can quickly click the activity area and see those details and see whether the employee followed through with sharing the file or not. So just again, another quick way to see some information. Now, a few other items have changed, not just in the Drive interface, but that's sort of cascaded into the Docs, Sheets, and Slides interface. If you want to move a file into a folder, there are a couple options. From this interface, as I showed earlier, you can either go to More Actions and say Move To. You can right-click and say Move To. Or, because the experience is much more like a desktop, I can actually click this file and drag it into a folder. And then I can drop it into a specific folder and it will move it into that location. Now, I can also do the same thing again, but even with a folder over here on the side. So if, let's say I had E115 and I really wanted that to be up at the My Drive level, I could pull that up to My Drive and it would pull it out from underneath the classroom folder. Now let's also talk about, let's go into the incoming and show a few details here. Notice this folder was shared with me and I was wondering where it was. I didn't see it in My Drive. Well, it's over here in incoming. Well, I shared this folder with this test account, but let's say I wanted to make sure that anytime I got into this test account, I could easily see this folder. What that's called is I want to add this folder to My Drive. It means I want to make sure that it appears in My Experience. So when I highlight over a folder that has been shared with me, I'll have the option to download the folder, which will package up any files inside of it. I also have the option to add to My Drive. So when I click this button, it's going to add it to My Drive, and I can actually specify where I want it to be. Now it's at the root of My Drive, but if I wanted to move it into another folder, I could do so. For now, I'm just going to leave it where it's at. Notice here in the incoming view, I also have more actions that are similar to the ones we've seen before. Now in the old Google Drive, whenever I came into here and I said more actions, move to, I could select more than one location to move a file to, basically producing a copy of it. Now in the new drive, and this is hidden, I'm not a huge fan of this, but I'm going to tell you the secret. If you press and hold Shift and the Z key, Shift and Z, it will actually allow you to select multiple locations. Well, it's not popping me up with the dialog that I should see, so well, apparently between last week and this morning, they have changed a shortcut. Shift Z should change this move button into the word add. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. My apologies for the confusion. If I can figure out the trick to that, I'll make sure to post it to the NC State Google Service Team Google Plus page later today with that tidbit of information. Now, I've mentioned the upload settings already. Note that because I don't have that checked, if I were to upload a file format, I'd do just fine. Also note that, and this came on the tail end of the old Drive experience, but especially when you're using Chrome, this entire interface does offer sort of a drag and drop experience. And what I mean by that is if I drag a file, give me 1 second to find one on my desktop. Okay, here's a PDF file. If I click and drag, you'll notice that the web window changes to allow me to easily just drop these files onto a location. Notice this will work with a file or a folder, so it's a quick and easy way to upload a file. Again, I can also go under New and say File Upload or Folder Upload and do the same thing. And again, it shows my local file system to choose from. Let's also talk about searching in Drive. One of the things in the new Drive is they have added some additional search parameters that you can use to make it more easy to find a file. These are shown, especially if I click the down arrow key next to search options. I can now specify a specific file type, folders, documents, spreadsheets, presentations, etc. I can say, hey, it opens with this particular document, and I can also say who it's owned by. There are also, if I click this Learn More link, it'll pop up detailed with more information, but there's even some advanced search options that you can do. So you can find words that have specific text phrases or don't have specific text phrases. You can say, you know what, I know that Tom shared that document to me, so I can say from and then Tom's email address, and it'll search for files that are from Tom matching the text that I've provided. I can also specify before and after dates now. So I can say that, and this is going to search edit windows here on these, I can say this file was edited, I edited it, I know I'm the only one who has access to this file, I worked on it last week or 2 months ago, let me find. I can also clarify specifically that I only want to search an item's title. This will really cut down on the search results if there's something that you've, a common word that you use all the time inside of a document. Maybe it'll help if you're only searching a title. So those are just some of the advanced search options that you can use. Now, in addition, with the new Drive experience, they have added a couple of sort of add-on options that you can do that I'll mention, and I'll include links to these on the Google Service Team Google Plus page. If you're not following us there, we do post tips and tricks there out to our followers, so please consider doing that. One of the great extension that you can add to Chrome is called the Save to Google Drive extension. This is provided by Google. And what this allows you to do is anytime you're on any web page, you can easily click that extension and choose to save a file, an image, or other assets straight instead of having to save them to your computer and then to Google Drive, or saving them to your computer if you're using the Google Drive Sync client and picking the Google Drive folder. You can bypass that whole experience and it'll save it straight to your Google Drive account. Okay, so that can be a great and easy add-on to do. Another add-on that they've added is now you can actually edit in Chrome without having to have installed Microsoft Office. You can edit Office documents. Now you have to, again, the extension for that is Office Documents in Chrome. And let me see if I can over to Chrome Web Store. The add-on you're looking for is called Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides. It is for Google. Let me switch my view. Switch to another window here just so you can see what you'll be looking for. So Office Editing for Docs, Sheets, and Slides. So that will allow you to edit a Word, Excel, or PowerPoint presentation in the Chrome browser, and it saves those changes back in the native format. So it isn't converting it to a Google Doc and then trying to re-export it out. It's actually editing the native format, the native Word format in the web browser, and then saving it back as Word. So it's opening up a Word file, making changes, saving it back as Word. So it keeps it in that Word format. So if you have coworkers who don't really use Google Drive, you're trying to get them to use it some, you're trying to look for a way to get them enticed with it, this may be a way to get that started. I'll also point out one other thing. If you are on a computer where you have the ability to install, or if your departmental IT staff will allow it, the Google Sync client, when installed on Windows or Mac, will also allow you to more easily open files from Google Drive from Chrome in local applications you have installed on your computer. By installing the Drive Sync client, it basically tells your Drive account what apps you have installed on your computer, and it means then if I had a Photoshop file, let's say, for instance, in my Google Drive space, I'll stop the screen sharing. If I had the Photoshop file in my Google Drive space and I had Photoshop installed on my computer, I could right-click the file and say Open in Photoshop. It would immediately transition through the Google Sync client, not a download and open. It would sync through, allow me to open it in Photoshop, make any changes I want, save it, and it would save those changes back to Google Drive for me. So it's a nice connection, but you have to have the Google Sync client installed on your computer for that to function that way. Well, that was pretty much the notes that I have of things that I wanted to cover. So if you have any questions, please let us know. I see that we have one question, so let me take a look at this one. Says, I really appreciate you talking about the Shift-Z feature to add to another folder. I hadn't been aware of that. I tried it and had to hit the Shift-Z before I had selected the Move option from the menu. I hit Shift-Z on the file name itself. Thanks, Stan, for that little bit of insight. So let me see if I can demonstrate that for everyone. To find the right window. Screen share this. So now, if before clicking on the file, I hold Shift-Z, actually helps if I'm on the right window. Okay, if I hold Shift-Z, all right, whenever I do that and click on the file, it gives me an add to. So what you're seeing there is instead of where I can right click or click on a file, hold Shift-Z down even with a file selected and it'll open for you. So if no file selected, hold down Shift-Z and then left click on a file and it's going to let you add to. That's going to let you select multiple locations and click add, and then you can keep selecting there. Thanks, Stan, for that additional help there. Okay, this is from Mindy. Is drag and drop available for moving or downloading files? Well, it is available for moving files in the new Drive interface. So let me demonstrate that again. If I wanted to move, let's say, this Word document here over into one of these folders, I just simply left-click it and drag it over into a folder. Okay. If you want to upload a file from your computer into a specific folder, if you make sure that you have that folder open in this main window here on your screen, so notice now I'm in the E115 folder. If I drag and drop from my desktop to the browser window, it'll upload it into that specific folder that I've selected into. You ask about downloading. If you pull down a file to your desktop, I'm going to try and see what it does. Yeah, Chrome doesn't know that motion well enough, so you still have to choose, right-click on the file and choose download in order to download a copy. Or if you choose the preview icon and you look at a preview of your document, you're always presented with a download option there. Okay, when you add a folder in the incoming area to My Drive, does it create a link to the shared documents, or does it copy the documents in the folder? That's a great question, Lee J. What it actually does is it does link to those documents. So for instance, if I had a folder that I shared with this demo account that my jlmayners@ncsu.edu account owned, even after my demo account added it to my drive, and we can even look at this, those files are still owned by all of the original people. So you see here, I added it to my drive, and now those are still all the original files that are shared. Notice that Audrey Ryson, it's a person that I work with, these files are still, and these folders are still owned to her, even though I moved them over to my drive. All my drive does is move them into a place where A, they're easy to find, and then B, if you're using the Google Sync client, only the things under my drive, none of the things inside of incoming, are those files that are synced to your local computer. So if you're used to using the sync experience to access your computer locally and open up the Finder on Mac or Explorer on Windows, then and browse those files natively in that experience, only folders or files inside of under my drive are available to be synced to your local computer. So it's a good way to sort of move those into that space if it's something that you're always needing access to. Those are some great questions. Any other questions before we wrap up? I'll stay on for just another couple of minutes in case anyone has a question or two. If I don't see anything in the next 1 or 2 minutes, we'll consider this Hangout over. I do appreciate all of you joining us today. Please leave us some feedback on the Google Plus page. We will post this video that's been recorded onto YouTube to our Google Plus page for viewing later. So if you have a coworker who wasn't able to join us today and you think they might be interested, you can share the YouTube video with them and help them out that way. Also on our Google Plus page, we would really appreciate ideas. If you like this format, if you like the lunch and learn, sort of brown bag your lunch in your office and enjoy watching something like this, let us know. Also let us know topics that you would like us to see or like us to cover in one of these Hangout on Airs, and we'll see if we can get those added later this semester. Appreciate all of you joining us today. Thanks also to Sarah for being my backup, helping making sure everything ran smoothly. Hope you guys have a good rest of your workday, and we will see you all again soon. Thanks.